Hello everyone, welcome back to another Flesh and Blood video. In this video, we are going to be finishing up the set review for heavy hitters. This time taking a look at all the dual class, generic, and expansion slot cards. I know these generally tend to get long, so let's get straight into it. Our first card is Gauntlet of Might. This is a 1-block Blade Break Brute and Guardian arms that, as an action, we can destroy it to make a Might token, and it has Go Again. Not the strongest tool, considering that Brute is getting a new 2-block arm this set that also makes Might tokens, as well as Guardian probably won't want the Might or 1 health compared to their several 3 health gloves, or even something like a Goliath Gauntlet. But this is a decent tool for limited formats. Talk a Big Game is the Brute and Guardian Majestic. This is a blue 0-cost action. It has 3 block. This is a card we saw pretty early in spoiler season. Choose a number. The next time you deal that much damage to a hero, that much physical damage to a hero, you create that many Might tokens. I think this card probably won't see too much play. The deck I really only think it could see play in is something like Rhinar, since the other deck that it could see play in, Bravo, won't play it because they want attacks as their blues mainly, or heavy disruptive effects like Terra Sunder. But I also don't think this will see the most play in Rhinar, since he's more of the get through guaranteed damage deck, and he'd rather play a card that can help him get through the guaranteed damage instead of just making him do more damage. Clash of Might is a 2-cost, 6-power, 3-block. It is an attack. Of course, it is Brute and Guardian. When this defends Clash with the attacking hero, the winner creates a Might token. This card is extremely strong, even considering its normal stat line. It's not a 4-block like most of the other Clash cards are, but these Clash attacks have a very good space in a lot of decks. Inside of Betsy right now, I'm playing Clash of Might to make Might tokens, to make my Guardian attacks that need increased power to get their effects. Things that we talked about last video, like Concuss or Command Respect, as well as an older card, Thump, who gets an insane amount of value if we do get that Might token. As well as they are 3 blocks, so they really don't mess up your deck that much. I guess they aren't the most power with the blue, only at 4, but this will still beat a lot of decks in a Clash if they hit a non-attack action or if they hit one of their smaller attacks. Battered Not Broken is a red-only rare. This is another part of a cycle. This whole cycle are reds that cost 0, and they all prevent the next 2 damage you would take, and if you do prevent that damage, you make a Might token. These aren't as strong as the Clash blocks, but they're okay. If they were in other classes, they could be useful, but these are really just going to be there for that extra defense inside of limited formats. Since there is no defense reactions, you could arsenal these and then play these from arsenal, sort of mimicking that role. Test of Might is the block similarly to the Clash of Might. This one, like all the other tests, are red 4 blocks that when you win the Clash you make a Might token. I believe all tests are only red. I wouldn't play them at anything other than red, but I guess maybe some of them at blue would be useful just for their effects and being a blue. But I'm pretty sure they're all red. Test of Might, not one of the best, to be fair. I think Clash of Might is probably a little better of a card, but some of these tests are really strong. Test of Strength, I believe, is the one that makes gold. That's definitely the best one. And then Test of Agility is definitely the second best, but we will get to that one when we get to Brute and Warrior. Wall of Meat and Muscle is another part of a cycle This is another red-only block cycle. These ones only have 3 block, and they all do something when they defend if you have a certain one of the tokens, the same token that the test of their dual class will make. Wall of Meat and Muscle lets you put an attack action from your graveyard on top of your deck if you have a Might token. I think this card's okay. It was originally in my Victor list, but I recently cut it since I shifted that away from a ton of blocks. So I don't think it won't have a home at some point, but currently I don't think it has its home, since the decks that would want it would just rather play an attack instead that they can attack with. Next is Mighty Windup. This is a 3-cost 7 power. This one has 2 block. It has an instant effect to discard it and create a Might token. This one isn't as strong as its agile counterpart, but it still has its space. Inside of KO, the blue version is considered to have 6 power, so it can be discarded to create 2 Might tokens. Very strong. Especially in KO, a deck that is already turbo consistent, this is one of the better blues you could be playing, simply because you can get it out of your hand if you don't need it there. It's good to draw if your opponent goes first, and it gives you tokens for your cast bones. This, as I said, agile is a little better. You're going to be playing more agiles if you do decide to play more than the 6 windups, being 3 mighty blue and 3 agile blue, but Mighty Windup is a pretty good card. Rising Power is a 2-cost 6 with 2 block. It gets an additional 1 power if you've drawn a card this turn. Pretty decent. Brutes aren't drawing too many cards this set since they really don't have a way to make gold. Of course they will. There is a card later that I believe draws us a card. And Guardian will because they get gold tokens. Victor will never be sacking his gold, but Betsy will, since she really only needs 1 gold for Good Time Chapeau, which in limited formats, which is really the only place this card will see play, you might not even get. So in Betsy, you probably will be sacking your gold, in which this does come in for 7 at red. Wage Might is a 3-cost 7 power 2 block. The wages are as well a part of a cycle. A lot of these rares and commons are all different versions of other cards and other classes. Wage Might is when this attacks a hero, you may wager a Might token with them. Wager, I don't think I talked too much in depth about, but wager pretty much is when you play it, you choose to wager it. If you hit them with this attack, you get the token. If you didn't hit them, they get the token. That's what wager does. This is a good tool for Betsy. I think Olympia would actually play this one if he could, but he's not a Brute or Guardian, so he cannot. Although I do think this one is pretty decent. You're really only going to see it in Betsy, though. Lead with Power is a 1-cost action. It is 2 block. It gives your next Brute or Guardian attack +3 and gives you a Might token. It's fine. I like it. It's a pump. It's great. But 2 block in not limited formats hurts it. And in limited formats, this can get you a bit of extra damage. It is more damage than it does block for. Technically, the red's 4 because you're getting a Might token. So pretty good there. I do like it in that context, but I don't think this is a very strong card. Although this can pump up weapons, which is why it probably is a little stronger in that sense. Moving on to Brute and Warrior. Flat Trackers is their dual class equipment. These are legs. They have, again, 1 block and blade break, and you can destroy them to make an agility token. Actually, really good shoes. These won't see play in constructed formats, considering Warriors have Refraction Bolters and Dynamos, and also Brutes have the other good shoes, the Scabbies and the Slippers, as they say. But I guess this could be in contention for the better shoe. Not better than Scabskin Leathers, but could be better than the other. So just because the lists for KO, at least, you're not discarding as much and getting that extra action point, so this could be good to get that agility. Their Majestic is Runner Runner. This is a 2-cost red attack for 6. It has 3 block. When this attacks, if it has Go Again, you make an agility token. Brute and Warrior make agility tokens. This extends your agility to an extra turn. I think this card's being a little slept on right now. I currently have it in my KO list, and it is absolutely amazing. I think the reason people aren't running it as much is because they are either relying on scabs a little more, or they're already relying on other Go Again attacks. The way my list is built, it's a little less dependent on Go Again and a little more dependent on agility. So this extending the agility is insanely good. My opinion on Runner Runner is it is a great card, and I hope to see it in more decks. Clash of Agility is just like the other Clash, a 2 for 6, that when it defends, if you win the Clash, you get an agility token. And if your opponent wins, they get it. But, your deck's not going to be built to hope the opponent wins. I think this is honestly probably the weakest Clash, and that's simply because it's not in Guardian. Even though it has the strongest effect, I think agility tokens are the better of the 3 tokens. The problem I have with Clash of Agility is just it's not a Guardian card. Warriors will almost never win clashes. I guess if you're Olympia, you can because you are on a slightly higher amount of attacks, but Kasai plays CNCs and Nourishings, which are 6s, which, yes, beat out a lot of decks, but they're also like 50 not attacks, so they're more likely not to even see the attack on top. And Brutes getting this could be a decent tool, but there are better ways to get agility tokens, either it be Cast Bones or it be Agile Windup, a card we will talk about a little more in a bit. So I do think Clash Agility does have its space. I just find it hard to find room for it. Take It on the Chin is the cycle of prevention instance. This one gives you an agility token. Not much to talk about. I think this is the best of the 3, though, because of the nature of them being not the best cards, but the fact that you can arsenal this and not Clash of Agility or Test of Agility to get an agility token is really strong. Run into Trouble deals 1 damage to the attacking hero. If you have an agility, sure, this can kill someone. It's probably not going to, but good for you if you do it. I think that's awesome. Test of Agility is honestly the best block. The reason why I rate this one so high and I rate Clash of Agility so low is simply because Test of Agility is a 4 block, meaning you're going to be bringing this into matchups you would normally want to prevent 4 damage, not matchups you'd want another attack. Test of Agility has that strong potential to give you that agility token and turn the game around. I guess you could say Clash of Agility would be better inside of KO if you're already playing Test of Agility, but from what I've played so far, I think the extra 1 health might be a little better since that's a deck that really doesn't care about blocking anyway and your life total matters so you can trade blows. Agile Windup, probably one of the top 5 cards in the entire set. This is a 3-cost 7 power, just like its mighty counterpart, and it has a very similar effect. To discard it and make a token, this one makes an agility token. This card is absolutely insane. If your opponent goes first and you have this in your opening hand, guess what? You have the tempo for the rest of the game. Making an agility token right away on your opponent's first turn lets you start the game off so easily. Even if you're going first, finding an agile windup early on turn 1 can just give you free setup for your second turn. You just have to be a little careful against disruptive decks that might disrupt your agility token. Having 2 block is perfectly fine since this will be discarded from your hand most of the time if you don't already have an agility token ready to go. and these can even be pitch stacked for the late game, so where when you're only drawing up to blues, you have discard it, get an agility, and then on your turn, you go attack claw, or if you set up a 5-card hand, you could play 2 of your bigger attacks. One of the best cards, definitely one to look for, even at common. This is an insane common. Rising Speed is a 2 for 5. It has 2 block and 5 power, as I already said. If you've drawn a card this turn, this gets go again. Warriors will be drawing cards. They have a lot of effects to draw cards, mainly since they are a gold deck in both Heroes, and Kasai wants to draw cards to make her swords free. This is probably a better Kasai card than it is an Olympia card, but Olympia should still look for these. Again, Brutes probably won't play it because they're not really drawing too many cards in this format, for limited at least. Wage Agility is probably the strongest wage. This is a 3 cost, 7 power, 2 block, and you wager an agility token. This one's strong because it's very good in Brute. Throw this towards the end of your turn to get an agility token going into your next turn, as well as in Warrior. This is a free go again effect that you would love to have for your swords going into your next turn. Do be careful, obviously your opponent might have equipment to block it, but in Limited that's very uncommon. So that mainly comes up in Constructed, where if your opponent spends all the cards in their hand, they can't use the agility well anyway. So you just got to watch out for that fridge a little bit. These are better in the mid game when your opponent's fridge might be gone a little bit and they still have to spend some cards to block it. Lead with Speed is the Brute and Warrior pump. This gives you an agility. This one's actually good. I don't think it'll see play in most constructed decks, but simply put, 1 cost plus 3, and then next turn start going off with agilities is crazy good. This doesn't find any room right now, but I could see this finding room in KO if Cast Bones ends up not being an insanely good tool that it's already showing to be. I think this could replace it in some lists wanting to weigh a little more on non-attack actions that can't afford the Cast Bone not making all of its might or possible agility. Moving on to Guardian Warrior. Vigor Girth is a chess piece. It gives you a Vigor. It has Blade Break, 1 health. It's the same as the other cycle. This is the worst one because it fights with Tunic. Double Down is a 2 cost Majestic. It has 3 block and is at red. You may destroy a gold rather than pay Double Down's cost. The next attack that wagers this turn gets +3 and overpower. If a hero would create 1 or more tokens for my wager this turn, instead they create that many +1 of those tokens. This is a gold payoff. You'll be playing it in Betsy because she only needs 1 gold, so your excess gold turns into free activations of Double Down, and you'll be playing this in Olympia because Olympia really wants to wager because of his ability. This will be a better card when those heroes get a little more support, because we should at some point, obviously not in this set, maybe if we get the classic constructed decks this set and we see Betsy and Olympia support, they will get weapons that wager. That would make this card absolutely insane. But for now, Double Down is just a playable card in those 2 decks. Clash of Vigor is the Guardian Warrior Clash. This one's really good because it gives a Vigor token. I have seen lists play this alongside Sledge to hopefully block out and save a blue to get a guaranteed 6 instead of just an Anothos for 4, letting you block with 3 cards and still have a 6 power swing. In addition to that, this in other Guardian lists can give you a Vigor to pay for your big boy. I forget what the attack is called. If I scroll up real quick, your Prime to Fight. This can give you a Vigor for that. This can give you a Vigor for any of your non-attack actions that cost 1, and then you come in with another attack. A lot of the Guardian attacks cost 3, and even the other wage attacks cost 3. So having a Vigor to pump it with a 1 cost non-attack action, which every class has at least 2, since the Lead for Speed type cards are a cycle, this one being lead with heart for Guardian and Warrior. The Vigor token is actually really nice, and I do like it. It sees play. It will probably see play in a few different types of decks. Slap Happy is their 2 damage prevention instant. This gives you a Vigor. It's pretty good. Hardy Block, in my opinion, is the best of the 3 block red blocks that need you to have a token in play, because if you have a Vigor, you gain a life. So some sustain. Turbo Fatigue decks are going to be playing this one since it gains you a life. Test of Vigor is not the last cycle because we have the draw a card cycle and the wind up cycle and the wage cycle and the lead cycle left. And even in generic, we have some of those. But Test of Vigor gives you a Vigor token. This one's a little less good. This is another situation where the Clash is better than the Test, but honestly, I think it's still playable if you were doing any Vigor token shenanigans. Rising Energy costs 1 less if you've drawn a card this turn. Yay, it's a 1 for 6. The issue, this set is Guardian, Brute, and Warrior, the 3 classes that probably play the most blues out of anyone. So, does this card need to cost 1 less? No. I guess if you are playing this with a Pummel, great. You would have needed to draw a card for it. So, you probably might already have one floating anyway. But, it's fine. It's okay. Guardian and Warrior do draw the most cards, so they have the most gold. So, there could be a situation where you only have a blue in hand, and then you just sack a gold and then play the Rising Energy. That's a play you could make. That's probably okay. Vigorous Windup, and it is the last of the windup cycle. This one gives you a Vigor, and it's sadly the worst one, simply put because discarding this card is a Brute mechanic. This is the one that is not a Brute card. That's why it is the worst one. I don't think it will see play, because the other ones will only see play in Brute. But this card exists if you want it. Wage Vigor. This is the same thing with all the other wages. You get a Vigor token if you win. It's fine. I like the other 2 a little more, but it's good. Like the other ones, I think they're playable. And then the last. I was going to say classed card, but technically the expansion slot cards are classed. The last dual class card, Lead with Heart. This is the 1 cost 2 block pump. That gives you a Vigor. It's fine. Again, really. I think it's decent. This one is actually a little better than I originally gave it credit, since it pays for itself. It's technically free. So, this one is really not bad. Moving on to the generics. Balance of Justice is a helmet with a brand new mechanic. This is 2 block and Guard Well. Guard Well is when the combat chain closes. If this defended, put -1 counters on it equal to its block value. Think of this as Blade Break, but stays in play. It has an instant to destroy it and draw, but only if an opponent has drawn 2 or more cards this turn. This is another card I was a little down on, but honestly, I think this could see play in a lot of sideboards. Mainly because there are a lot of matchups this doesn't do much, but there are some matchups where this just gives you a 6-card hand. Dromai plays Tome. Fi plays Art of War, although why are you not blocking Fi? So it's hard to have a 6-card hand against Fi, but Brutes are playing Bloodrush Bellow. Other warriors are cracking gold. Cash-in exists. There are a lot of effects that draw cards, specifically 2 or more cards. So, Balance of Justice just lets you have, like, insane turns. Obviously, some matchups, Crown's better. Simply put, CNC exists. Or you actually want to start with the gold with the other Crown. But I think Balance of Justice is definitely an option you can go for. I do really like this card. Glory Seeker is a helmet. It doesn't block. You can pay 3 at instant speed to destroy it and draw a card. Good in this format. I like it. Sheltered Cove, very similar. Pay 3, destroy it. This one just prevents 2 damage. I think it's fine. A little worse than Glory Seeker, but it is a little bit of extra defense if you need it. Next, we have 2 different cycles, although one of them is actually a cycle, the other is just equipment, I guess. But they all have the same effect. The Advisory cycle are 2 block Blade Break equipment that all do something, that all can block if an opponent had something or has done something. Face Advisory requires them to have drawn a card. Confront Adversity. Are there Adversity? I said Advisory. Face Advisory is they've drawn a card. Confront Advisory is they've had a Vigor or they've destroyed a Vigor this turn. Embrace Advisory is if they had a Might, and Overcome Advisory is if they had an Agility. They're good. They're just health in 2 of the 3 matchups. And face, I guess, in 2 of the 3 matchups since Brutes aren't really drawing. The next cycle, all of the same effect. Headliner Helm, Stadium Centerpiece, Ticket Puncher, Grandstand Leg Plates, and Bloodied Oval, the shield, all have block equal to the number of opposing heroes with greater health than you. And they all have Blade Break. So probably 1. These are all 1 block equipment. In UPF, great. We didn't actually talk about the Fabled. I will talk about the Fabled after this Bloodied Oval right here, because we didn't have it when I did the first review, and it's also generic, so I shouldn't be talking about it here. You're not going to have more than 1 opponent in most formats. In UPF, sure you will. You probably won't play this in UPF, unless you're cosplaying and playing a thematic deck or something. Moving on, the Fabled. Please be sideways. Dang it. Alright, you're just going to have to trust me on this one, since this is going to be a little hard to read. Deathmatch Arena is a generic landmark. It is 0 cost. It is legendary. It has Go Again. Heroes can attack opposing heroes. Any opposing hero. If you've played UPF, you know you can't attack the person across from you. Now you can do that. Whenever a hero deals lethal damage to another hero, they create gold tokens equal to the number of heroes who are there at the start of the game. So if I kill my opponent and there were... It's opposing heroes, right? No, heroes at the start of the game. So if I attack my opponent and kill them, and there were 4 people at the start of the game, I get 4 gold tokens. This is only a UPF card, because the first effect, I guess technically the third effect, because the first 2 are legendary and Go Again. The third effect, if heroes can attack any opposing hero, only matters in UPF. The last effect also does not matter unless it is UPF, because if I'm killing my opponent in CC, I'm winning the game anyway. This is a purely UPF card. I think it's very cool in UPF and probably will see play in that, but I think it's a cool thematic Fabled and not a interesting good Fabled. Moving on to the generic Majestics, since we already talked about the generic, what am I saying? Generic, we already talked about the generic legendary. Generic Majestics. Nasty Surprise. I'm trying to speed this up so this video isn't an hour, but it probably will be. Nasty Surprise is a 0 cost blue. It is 3 block and 2 power. Wonder who's going to play it then. When an opponent's effect puts into your graveyard from anywhere, you make a Might, Agility, and Vigor token. You know who wants to play this card? Fi. This is a Fi card. Fi, for some reason, is getting some bangers this set. This and Tenacity are both like insane Fi cards. Simply put, if your opponent pummels you, or if your opponent disrupts you in any way, and you get rid of Nasty Surprise, well, then they're in for a nasty surprise, because you're going to get a Vigor to play your 1/1 cost card. You're going to get a Might. Obviously, you won't be able to sort after, because you don't have the blue anymore, but you're going to get a Might to pump that attack up, and you're going to get Agility, so if it was a Snatch, you could lead with a Snatch, and then come in with another Snatch, or like an E-Strike or something. This card's great. You'll see it in Fi. It even costs 0, so you can pitch it to Kodachis. You probably won't see it in Katsu because that deck is going to be a little more space heavy, especially with a card we will look at inside of the expansion slots, but I do really like Nasty Surprise for Fi. Pay Up is a card that I actually kind of wish costed 2. Pay Up is a 3 cost, 6 power, 3 block. If a defending hero controls a gold, this gets overpower, and when this hits a hero, you gain control of the gold they control, and if they don't, or if you don't take one, so if they don't have a gold, they take 1 damage. I wish this costed 2 because I think this would be a cool Azuri card. The overpower obviously wouldn't matter, and you're really just playing it to take their gold or do an extra damage. But in the matchups where they have gold, this could be good tech against it. Azuri doesn't have, to my memory, doesn't have a way to deal with a item in play. So Pay Up would have been a cool card to at least deal with the gold. That is going to matter a lot more in this set, but sadly it costs 3, so oh well. Ripple Away is a 2 cost blue, 4 power, 3 block. It has an instant to discard it. Wow, it doesn't have 5 power, so it can't be played because KO won't win it. If an action card would create 1 or more tokens this turn, it creates -1 of each of those tokens. What is this good into? Let's see. All of the actions that make tokens, if KO is ever too strong, all of his actions make an agility. If Dromai wants to play a Rake, they get 1 less Ash. I don't think this impacts Ash Wings, but they get 1 less Ash. Not from Dromai herself, but from the 1 Ash from the Rake. The 1 Ash from the Rake. I have been up since 7 a.m. today. I'm sorry. But this card will have space in something. If a Runeblade attack makes a Rune Chant, sadly, it won't stop Viz or Vincent. But this does stop Runeblood Incantation because you can discard this in response to the incantation trigger, and that is an action. So I think this card is very cool, and I'm glad it's in the set because I think this will be something we eventually need. This one might be kind of like the set's Warmongers, so do try to pick these up because I think the second these are good, they're going to shoot up in price. I don't think they're going to be good straight out of the gate, but they are a 3-block blue. They don't cost 0, but they are a 3-block blue, so do have your eye on them. Standing Order is a 0 cost 4. Briar Will Be Missed. With when this attacks or defends, you may put a card from your hand or arsenal. No, only from your arsenal. I'm sorry. When this attacks or defends, you may put your arsenal card on the bottom of your deck. I seriously thought it was hand as well. If you do, this gets +2 or +2 power or +2 block. So into CNC, this tucks your arsenal and blocks 5. Into anything else, if you have a terrible arsenal, this gets +2 power, which is nice. Or if you're playing it on the defense and you have a block in your arsenal, whoops, I arsenaled a block. Guess I just need to draw a Standing Order. I do think this card's great. Now that we have a card that's just trapped in your arsenal all day, because none of the blocks in the set of Ambush, Standing Order is a great card that can let you cycle blocks out of your arsenal. I think this card's great to be in the set. I do like its breakpoints. And also, it actually gets both. So I was going to say you have to choose one against Prism, but into Prism, this is a popper. And also, if they make it not a popper, it still blocks 5. So actually a really good card that might see play in some sideboards. Tenacity is a 0 cost yellow. Honestly, one of my favorite arts in the set. Tenacity says, when this attacks, it gets +X, where X is the number of defending cards on the combat chain. It is 2 power and 3 block. This is a Phi card. This is Salt's 4, 5, and 6. I don't know if this is better than Salt the Wound, but this counts cards. which means it counts cards from hand as well as I think equipment, since equipment are cards. So anything your opponent blocks with is just going to pump this card's damage. Really, really good. Sort of the inverse of Salt the Wound. I could see a world where Fies start playing 2 and 2 of 2 Tenacity, 2 Salt the Wound, just because no matter what, they're probably going to get similar damage. Tenacity has some upside compared to Salt, and Salt has some upside compared to Tenacity, but I think they're both really good. This plus Nasty Surprise, I know Fi is already doing really well, could push Fi to be even better than he already is. The last generic Majestic in the set, Seduce Secrets, is a 0-cost yellow instant. It lets you look at target hero's hand and the top card of their deck, as well as if it's played from Arsenal, you draw a card. It's fine. I guess you'll see it in some decks that want to draw cards, but not so much. Getting information is good, though. I do think that's a cool idea. Honestly, this will probably only see play in Riptide, because he can actually Arsenal it whenever he wants. Down but Not Out is another card that has like insane art. This is a 3-cost, 5-power, 3-block at red. When this attacks a hero, if you have less health, control fewer equipment, and tokens than them, this gets +3 overpower and on hit make an agility, might, and vigor. Insane. This card is the comeback idea alongside of KO. If you're down on everything, life, equipment, and tokens, you get an 8-power attack that just gives you all 3 of the tokens in the set. One of the better cards I think could see play in Constructed if a deck were to arise that ends up being on the back foot a lot. Wage Gold is the last wage in the cycle and is the only card in the set with the Universal mechanic. Universal is a keyword that makes it the same class as your hero, no matter the zone it's in. This one is the wager for gold, and it is the worst wager. Why is it the worst wager? Because, okay, if you're playing Betsy, you're not going to play this card, because gold doesn't do anything for you. It's terrible. You only ever need 1. Any other gold turns into double downs, but you already have 2 other cards that make gold in Money Where Your Mouth Is and Test of Strength. You don't need it. Also Bet Big. So this is the 4th effect that makes gold, so you don't need it. In Brutes, you don't care about making gold. You're not going to play it in Brute. And in Warrior, gold is the worst token, to be honest. Kasai's not going to play it because this is a 3 for 7 with 2 block. If Kasai's going to play that, she's going to play Findles. And Olympia's not going to play it because he already makes gold whenever he wins a wager. This card doesn't do anything. It's fine in draft, I guess, but doesn't really do much. Reinforce the Line gives a defending attack action +4 block. This is a reprint. This is a really good reprint. I think these were like $2. So honestly, this is a great reprint. I'm glad it's in the set. When we saw Outsiders, we saw a lot of generic reprints too. A few more of these are reprints. So honestly, Reinforce the Line, probably the best one they could have done. Adrenaline Rush is also going to be a reprint. I'm not going to read this one. It's not too good. Performance Bonus is a 0-cost attack. It is 2 block and 3 power. When it hits, you get a gold token, and if it's played from Arsenal, it gets Go Again. Similarly to Outsiders, we saw a lot of these effects where if they're played from Arsenal, get Go Again. We have a Majestic that does not so much the same thing because it's an instant, but played from Arsenal, do something. This is a card. It's fine. It's probably better off in a deck like Kasai, who can save it, actually put it in Arsenal, and then set up a little bigger turns. Not in Constructed, though. Rally the Rearguard is getting reprinted. This one actually makes sense because having a 5-block card that can discard an instant or something like that is actually pretty nice. That's also a 2 for 6. Trade-in is also a reprint. This is similar to the performance bonus idea of their attacks that are just like good to have. You can set up for bigger turns, but inside of Brute, it's a discard for you. And inside of Warrior, this is a draw. So three of the 6 heroes might actually want this. Lunging Press, good reprint. Hasn't seen play in a long time, but blue, 2 block, +1 to any attack action. It's great. Money Where Your Mouth is a 1 cost, 2 block action. This gives an attack +3 power, as well as the wager gold. Similar to the warrior pumps that are 1 cost and they gain the wager, this is actually really good in Betsy, and you'll probably see it in Betsy. You might also see it in Olympia as well. Simply put, because it's another wager effect. It's better in Betsy than it is in Olympia, but this is a really good card. Starting Stake is a 0 cost yellow. It says if you control no gold, you make a gold. Sadly, there's no merchant that cares about gold, but I assume that whoever this guy is on Starting Stake might just be that merchant at some point. And Test of Strength, the last generic card in the set, is the best of the test cycle, giving you a gold token if you win the clash. Simply put, Victor draws the card that you win the clash with because you're making gold. Kasai can actually use the gold. Olympia probably doesn't mind it, and this is a defensive card that Betsy is going to love. Finally, we have Cracked Bauble, of course, in the set, but in reality, we have the expansion slot cards. Some of these are really good, I might say insanely broken. Some of these are absolutely terrible and will see literally 0 competitive play. And some of them are just alright, and I think they'll make the decks that want them better. Graven Kraal brings us back to Assassins getting 2 cards every set again, which probably will happen until the end of time until Arachne is good. Which, hopefully, since he has a real spec now, maybe he's good. But Graven Kraal is a similar dagger stat line. 2 costs to attack with Go again, piercing 1, 1 base power. Awesome. What is this dagger's gimmick? It's not like the other ones. It is an instant to destroy 2 silver you control to re-equip it with a +1 counter. You can only activate it when it's in your graveyard. Really strong with Flick Knives. I could see decks running Graven Kraal alongside a few Concealed Blades and Flick Knives to throw knives like Graven Kraal, and then eventually Concealed Blade and other knives, throw those knives, and then just buy back the Graven Kraal later once you've built up enough silver, and then repeatedly throw it, or just come in for that 2 power now, making this a pretty strong dagger. I do like it. I think a lot of Assassins will play 1 copy. Coercive Tendency is the brand new Arachne spec. Excuse me 1 second. Alright. This is a very good card, and I love to see it. Arachne needed something. This might push them to the point where they're good, but it probably won't, because Arachne is terrible. This is 0 cost blue attack reaction. Arachne spec. Look at the top 3 cards of the defending hero's deck. Put them back in any order. Then banish the top card of their deck. If you've completed a contract this way, which remember, contract is active as long as it's on the chain. So if I play a Leave No Witness and then banish a red to the Coercive Tendency, that will win the contract. My assassin attacks get Go again this turn. Whoa! All of my breakpoints get Go again. That's awesome. For my 4 possible, If I have 4-0 for 4s, or if I have Tunic and I have a 1 for 5, my Arsenaled Coercive Tendency can let me swing in with 4 attacks. Woo! I'm overhyping it, but you know, I think this card's actually really good. It's a blue 3-block, so the slower Arachne decks will want it. Arachne decks that are focused on mainly generating copper, which possibly could be, or mainly generating silver, that possibly might want to spend it on Graven Crowl, getting it back repeatedly after flicking it, and then just having a stronger dagger. Those slower Arachne lists will really like this card, but also the aggressive Arachne lists that want to play several cards can set up a bigger turn with Coercive Tendency, and then come in with a lot of attacks that hopefully will generate you a lot of silver. Again, I think Graven Crowl is a big part in that, since alongside Flick Knives, you can, with all that silver, deal 1 damage repeatedly to your opponent. So your opponent's life total just will go down slowly more and more, and after maybe the second Coercive Tendency in the game, you will have enough silver or have dealt enough damage or hit enough times where you have one of Arachne's win cons in play, either fatigue them, deal enough damage, or I just have a ton of silver and have assembled Graven Growl Exodia. Or Graven Call Exodia. Is a good card. It will make Arachne probably playable, but we'll have to see. On the line of actually really good blue expansion slot cards, we have the card that should have been in Bright Lights, Ancestral Harmony. This is a 3-block, 0-cost blue ninja action. We can stop there. It's already playable. This gives your attacks with combo +1 this turn, and has banished the top card of your deck. If it's combo, you may play it this turn, and then go again. Obviously, it has a downside of, oh, I banished the Surging Strike. Oof. Yes, you can banish Surging Strike. But in a more aggressive combo-based list, a list that will play the Flood of Force line plus the 100 wins line, this card is insane. I think the second we get a combo line that is every card has combo, kind of like the 100 wins line, where the openers even have combo, insane. You can definitely see this inside of Breeze Rider Boots decks as well, since Breeze Rider Boots decks want to play a ton of attacks with combo. Things like Spinning Wheel Kick. Things like, I don't think any other attack has go again in combo than Spinning Wheel Kick and 100 wins. But decks like that want to just play all of these combo attacks. Your Fluster Fists. Your, I guess, Rising Knee Thrusts, maybe. This card is great. I think this will see play at some point in a different version of Katsu. And hey, even if it's not, it's better than Warmongers. It's a 3-block blue that costs 0. So, this is a nice card. Now we get to the bad blues. Sadly, not every blue can be good. Evo Magneton is the worst code foil you can pull in your box. Even worse than all of the commons, because I actually think most of them are pretty playable at some point. Evo Magneto. Did I say Evo Magneton? It's Evo Magneto. Whatever. It's a blue 1-cost Evo arm. It's not a base, so it's unplayable. It has 2 block. You can play it on a base to transform it. When this defends, you can destroy a card under it to gain control of an item with cost 0 or 1 controlled by the attacking player, and it has temper and 2 block. I think something they forgot to mention was tokens, because golds don't have a cost. This is something they ruled before. I forget what card it mattered for. I know, it was Meeps. Meeps can't take gold tokens because they have a cost. Meeps can only take an item of cost 1. Is it 1 or less or 2 or less? Meeps can only take an item of certain costs. Gold don't have a cost. Meeps cannot take gold. Kyloria just says item. Kyloria can take gold. Evo Magnetos cannot take gold. Biggest flavor fail which I guess gold. Whatever. This card is not good. They would need to make it 3 block for it to be even considered playable. I guess in the mech mirrors it's fine, but to just there, it's a mech mirror. Play the clock. Play anything instead of this. This is actually the worst card in the set. If there was a card before I said was the worst card in the set, this is the worst card in the set. Even when we look at the Wizard card and the Runeblade card, actually the Runeblade card's pretty good, but when we look at the Wizard card, you're going to think, man, this card's unplayable. This is worse. Judge, Jury, and Executioner is a legendary Azalea specialization. It is a 1 cost, 5 power, and 3 block. Again, banger art. If this has an aim counter, it gets, when this hits a hero, they discard all but 1 card in their hand. So yes, Deadeye will make them discard their whole hand if you Deadeye plus this, plus an aim counter. Which is technically possible because Knock exists and you can tutor this on top and reload something. Pretty much this is a one-time full discard. It's awesome. I really like it. Good thing it's not 3-Ev because that would make it a little too good, but Memorial Grounds exists, so we might not be so lucky. Azalea, I think, needed that one more good arrow. Remorseless exists, yes, and her Red in the Ledger exists, yes, but she needed one more debilitating effect, especially when you consider Remorseless isn't debilitating against half the cast, and the other disruptive deck in the format, Bravo, got access to an arguably better spec than Crippling Crush in some situations. So Azalea needed something to keep up with the disruptive capability, as well as she's less consistent than Bravo anyway. So Judge, Jury, and Executioner, actually a really cool card. That I'm sure people will end up complaining about. But, dude, they needed a perfect 4-card hand to do it. Don't complain if you get Deadeye, Judge, Juried, and Executionered. Reelin is another Ranger card. This one's designed for Riptide, though. It doesn't have spec on it, but it pretty much does. This is my dreams dying of getting a pirate hero, since I think if we get a pirate, there'll probably be a Ranger, since there are pirates on this card. This is and then you guys are going to tell me examples of cards that had characters of their classes that weren't the class. I know a ninja's on Flick Flack, guys. Okay. But, really. Reelin says, look at the top X+1 cards of your deck, and then you choose up to 4 traps and put them in your hand. Wow, this is a draw 4. Great. It also is reload. But why do you need a reload if you're playing this from your hand, probably, if you're Riptide, and you just reload from his ability? It's a blue, so you can always pitch it. It costs X. That's how you get the X. I think it's fine. Riptide might play it, simply put, because you spend, I guess, 6 block in theory to get 12 block, possibly, if you have 4 traps on top. So full trap Riptide could exist at some point. Would need a weapon that actually attacks, but honestly not terrible. Sonata Galaxia is the brand new Runeblade card. It costs double X since it is a Sonata, and it has 2 block, which I think the other ones all do as well. This costs 1 less to play for each rune you control, and you search your deck for a Runeblade aura of cost X or less and put it into play. If X was 2 or more, so you paid 4, or if you pitched a blue in your Vincent, because you'll always have one, this gets go again. This is not a Viz card. Viz will not play this card. It is way too slow. OTK Viz, actually, no, that's not true. OTK Viz might play this card because they make so many rune chances to tutor for Gloom and Doom or whatever other aura they might want. This is mainly for a Vincent card, though. You have this, you make your rune chant at the start of the turn, you pitch a blue, so X is 2, and then you go find one of your auras that make rune chants. And then you still have go again, so you can still do something after. So I think this card's fine in Vinset, just Rune Blades right now are not in the best spot, so it probably won't see the most play. It's also Runeblade Aura, so Briar can't pay. What would Briar have to pay? 6? Briar would have to pay 6 to get a channel. He can't do that because it's Runeblade. Next is the blue that I said is not worse than Evo Magneto, but it's actually really close. Aether Arc. This is another hero that I wish we got because she looks really cool on the art. This is a 0 cost blue 3 block. It does 1 damage to each opposing hero, and you make a ponder for each hero dealt damage this way. If you're playing UPF and you're not playing the decks, I would hope you bring at least 1 AB. Simply put, because of Runeblade existing, and you die to Runeblade if you don't, but also Wizard and how Icelander is probably a pretty good UPF deck that I haven't played all too much, actually, after making the video about Icelander UPF. But this card is a UPF card because in CC, what are you doing? I guess you could get 4 ponders or something, but that doesn't do anything. Like, ponders in CC don't matter because you're always drawing up at the end of your turn anyway. I said, I guess turn 1, you could, if you hit 3 of these on your opponent's turn and somehow dealt 3 damage to them, you could set up like an 8-card hand. Right? Like if you pitched Takano 3 times, hit 3 of these, and then paid another blue into Metacarpus nodes 3 times, you could have a 10-card hand. Technically. Because you draw up to 4, and then at the end of your turn, you crack 6 ponders. Great. You have a 10-card hand. That is impossible and will never happen. This card's really bad. Dissolve Reality is an illusionist card. It's a yellow, so the Prism will play it. Maybe. I think it's okay, but it probably won't make the cut. It's a yellow 3 block that costs 0. Each hero puts all cards in their arsenal on the bottom and makes a ponder. If you don't have a card in arsenal, you still make a ponder, since it's not a cost or a restrictive thing like if you did, like Codex does. It's fine. It has go again. Again, Prism won't play it because she probably doesn't need it, and Dromite's not going to play it because it's yellow. And the final card, an actual Prism card. Luminaris 3. Luminaris Angel's Glow. The first one was broken. The second one absolutely sucked. Hopefully, they have it with this. If a yellow is in your pitch zone, which I like because Prism was always yellow based and she became blue based for some reason, but now she'll be yellow based again. The first attack you play with Herald in its name, or the first angel you attack with each turn, and the first angel you attack with each turn, you get both. So you get Herald, Angel, or Herald, Angel, Herald, or Angel, Herald, whatever combination. Get go again. Really good. I wish this was the weapon before. This puts Prism away from the Aura idea that she was originally and more into the Angel idea that they tried to push. The Luminaris 2 ended up not doing it because it sucked. You had to pay 2 resource to only get 1 go again. This is doing something you're already going to be doing if you're attacking with an Angel because it costs 2 to get 3 attacks. So I think this card's really good and it will see play. And honestly, from what I've been seeing of Prism, she's pretty good. You can still play a hybrid package with Iris in your sideboard. Since the auras are yellow, you could always pitch them. You can pitch them to your Angels to flip them. That's the main thing as well. And I just think this is a good card. And honestly, a good way to end the expansion slot cards and the other things that we have. the other half of the video. You know, I've been up for a lot of hours, and I think this video is probably going to be an hour long again. So, sucks for me, because no one watches hour-long videos unless they're video essays, and these aren't video essays. But that's going to be the end of the video. This long video. Actually, it might not be as long as the first one. I think the first one is probably a little longer. But that is going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Next week, we start deck reviews. Might be Olympia first. Not quite sure. We'll have to see. There are a few I'm gunning for. Victor could be first. Olympia could be first. One of the new heroes, one of the new original heroes will be first. Betsy, Olympia, or Victor. We're not doing Kasai first, and we're not doing KO first. So, one of the three new characters will be first. But with all that, hope you guys have a good day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.